10 disgusting things that narcissists really want when there is no contact with you. Imagine this. You decide to cut off contact with a narcissist. You stop answering calls, deleting their messages, maintaining firm silence. And yet, in the echo of your absence, something starts to twist within them. It's not longing, affection, or regret. It's something far darker. In this video, we're revealing the 10 truly disgusting desires narcissists cling to. When you go no contact, desires that aren't about love or connection, but about control, validation, image, revenge, and ego. These aren't surface-level reactions like jealousy or anger. These are deep, unsettling behaviors fueled by insecurity, things they secretly crave to soothe their fractured egos, behaviors they don't admit, even to themselves. By the end, you won't just understand what they want, you'll understand why it matters. Because recognizing these ugly truths can free you from guilt, confusion, and the ever-turning cycle of chaos they hope to trap you in. Stick with me, because the more you know about what they secretly crave, the more power you reclaim. Let's begin. They want you to respond, even if it's a fight. At the heart of narcissism is a need for emotional supply, any attention that validates their existence. When they can't break through with charm, they'll try aggression. They send provocative messages, argue points meant to bait you, or use passive aggression to get a reaction. Why? Because a fight, even painful, is proof they still matter to you. Narcissists believe that if you're silent, they're invisible. That silence terrifies them more than any insult. As a psychologist, we see this as a form of emotional addiction. The narcissist's mood regulation is tied to your emotional reactions, sadly even negative ones. Cut those off, and they experience withdrawal. 2. They want to smear you behind your back. When contact ends, so often do their remorseful posts, but behind the scenes, they begin constructing narratives meant to preserve their image. They call you unstable, obsessive, or crazy. If they can't control your perception, they'll try to control public opinion about you. This smear campaign is disgusting in its cold calculation. The victim loses not just communication, they lose their character in the eyes of others. Psychologically, it's a strategy to avoid the shame of rejection, thanks to projection, a classic narcissist defense mechanism. 3. They want to be the victim. Closely tied to smear campaigns is the narcissist's desperate need to assume the victim role. If they can get others to believe you hurt them, they can shield themselves from responsibility. You might hear, "I just needed space," or "they just cut me off for no reason," or "I tried everything to make it work." Rarely admitted, they left because I lied, cheated. They don't want to be loved. They want to position themselves as hurt. Surrendering your silence is proof that they've been wronged. It's emotional manipulation at its most distasteful. 4. They want you to feel regret. They feed on your inner guilt. That twinge of self-blame that says, "Maybe I pushed too hard," or "I didn't try everything." Narcissists hope to spark that doubt by reminding you of the past. Not because they want to apologize, but because guilt is still attention. From a psychological lens, guilt is the perfect tool to unscrew your clarity. Because if you regret your decision, they still have access to your emotions, and once they have access again, they begin the cycle all over. They want to trash your reputation online. In modern narcissism, image is everything. So once they've smeared you privately, they may begin to shape your public persona. Post hinting at crazy exes, cryptic stories on social media, carefully leaked screenshots, all designed to chip away at your credibility.
This is not about moving on. It's about permanent damage. They want you to be haunted by doubt, afraid to speak freely, or locked into explaining yourself to friends and family, because in that confusion, they remain in control. Let's continue peeling back the layers of narcissistic behavior and examine the second half of what a narcissist truly wants when you are no longer giving them access, attention, or emotion. These are the psychological motives they keep hidden. On the surface, they may appear indifferent, or thriving without you. But internally, they're engaged in a warped emotional war, not with you, but with their own wounded ego, and they're fighting that war in the shadows of your silence.
Here are the final 5 things narcissists really want when you're no longer in contact with them. 6. They want you to watch them move on, even if it's fake. Narcissists are master performers. When you go no contact, one of their favorite tactics is to showcase a picture-perfect life without you fast. They might flood their social media with photos of a new partner, sudden adventures, or motivational quotes implying they've leveled up. But what's the goal? To get inside your head. They want you to feel like you lost, that they're unbothered, desired, and winning. But what they really crave is your jealousy. They want you to silently stalk, to feel lesser, to believe you were the problem all along. Here's the psychological truth. These performances are rarely genuine. Most are shallow attempts to replace the emotional void your absence left behind. It's not love they feel, it's desperation dressed as confidence. And if you don't react, that eats them alive. 7. They want to be able to come back whenever they choose. A narcissist rarely accepts that something is truly over. Instead, they view your relationship as a pause they control, something they can return to when it's convenient. Even during no contact, they may be mentally cataloging how and when they can hoover you back in. A birthday message, a vague thinking of you text, a crisis that requires your support. These are all calculated moves. What's disgusting here is not the contact itself, it's the entitlement behind it. They believe that after all the harm, all the manipulation, they still own a piece of your emotional attention. And when you stay silent long enough, that delusion slowly dies. But not without a fight. 8. They want to feel like they still exist in your mind. A narcissist's most deeply rooted fear is not being hated, criticized, or even exposed. It's being emotionally irrelevant. As long as you're angry, upset, heartbroken, or confused, they feel they still exist inside your emotional world. To them, any strong emotional response, positive or negative, is proof that they still hold significance in your mind. It reassures them that they continue to live rent-free in your thoughts, that they still have some form of power or influence over your inner world. But if you begin to reach a state of calm, if you start to detach emotionally, find peace, or truly move forward, without longing, without resentment, without needing anything from them, it becomes unbearable for them. That kind of emotional neutrality isn't just uncomfortable for the narcissist, it feels like death. A death of the identity they once held in your life. A death of their illusion of superiority and control. The absence of your emotional energy is a void they don't know how to fill. So even when no contact is in full effect, many narcissists construct mental fantasies in which you're still thinking about them constantly. They imagine you crying at night, rereading old messages, replaying memories, or wondering whether cutting them off was the right decision. In their minds, you are stuck in a cycle of doubt and longing. They tell themselves that you're secretly hoping for a reunion or reconciliation, that you're just waiting for them to say the right words or make the right move. They need this belief to stay intact because if they accepted the reality that you've truly let go, it would destroy the false sense of self they cling to. From a psychological perspective, this isn't rooted in love or a desire for mutual healing. It's rooted in narcissistic delusion. They cannot comprehend a reality in which they are no longer the center of your emotions, no longer the main character in your internal narrative. That's why they continue projecting their fantasies outward, constructing entire emotional stories where they remain central, admired, missed, and irreplaceable. And the more time that passes without contact, the more desperate they become to sustain this fantasy. In many cases, they'll even go as far as creating false narratives in their own mind to maintain the illusion. They convince themselves that you're not truly done, that you're simply playing hard to get, trying to make them chase you, or testing their commitment. They rewrite the silence into a script that flatters their ego, refusing to see it as a boundary born from your self-respect. This is the depth of their denial. They'd rather believe a comforting lie than face the truth, that they no longer matter to you the way they once did, and that your peace no longer includes their chaos. 9. They want to sabotage your healing without you knowing. A narcissist doesn't always need to confront you directly or openly violate your boundaries to continue interfering with your life. In fact, many of them prefer a more covert approach, one that allows them to maintain a clean image on the surface while still causing damage behind the scenes. They may begin feeding subtle lies into your social circle, making offhand comments to mutual acquaintances, or strategically reaching out to the people closest to you, all without your knowledge. This behavior allows them to maintain an invisible presence in your life, even while appearing to respect your silence. They do this for one simple reason: they don't want you to fully heal. Even if they can't witness your progress firsthand, they want to ensure that your peace is disrupted, that your sense of clarity is shaken, and that your emotional recovery is delayed or derailed altogether. They aren't content with being out of your life, they want to remain a shadow over it. These manipulations are often dressed up in concern or casual conversation. They may drop comments like, "I just hope they're okay," in a tone that subtly questions your stability, planting seeds of doubt in the minds of those around you. Or they might say, "I've moved on," with an undertone that hints you're still stuck obsessing over the past, even when you're not. Sometimes they'll say, "I still care about them," while actively working to twist others' perceptions of you, playing the role of the misunderstood, mature one, while turning the people closest to you into unwitting participants in their sabotage. This form of emotional sabotage is insidious. It's quiet, it's indirect, but it's no less destructive than overt abuse. In fact, because of its subtlety, it can be even more damaging, eroding your support system, distorting your reality, and making you feel isolated or disbelieved. Narcissists thrive in this off-kilter environment, where confusion reigns and emotional stability feels just out of reach. They no longer need to be physically present to keep your world slightly off balance. Ultimately, their underlying motive is both petty and cruel. If they can't enjoy inner peace, they don't want you to have it either. They can't bear the idea that you might be free, happy, or emotionally grounded without them, so they seek to undermine that in whatever quiet ways they can, determined to leave a crack in your foundation, even if from a distance. 10. They want you to break no contact first, so they can win again. Perhaps the most sinister and manipulative desire a narcissist harbors during a period of no contact is for you, the person who finally walked away, to be the one who breaks the silence first. Not because they genuinely miss your presence, not because they've experienced real personal growth or transformation, and certainly not because they feel remorse for how they treated you. It's far more calculated than that. If you take that first step back toward them, even in a moment of weakness or vulnerability, they take it as confirmation, not of reconciliation, but of victory. It becomes their validation that you haven't truly moved on, that your no contact wasn't rooted in strength, but in emotional gamesmanship. To them, your silence was never about self-respect or healing, it was merely another attempt to get their attention, and now they believe they've won. They are patient when it suits their ego. They can wait for weeks, for months, or even years, quietly holding on to the fantasy that you'll eventually break down and reach out. And when you finally do, even if it's just to seek closure or express lingering pain, they interpret that as irrefutable proof that they still matter to you, that you never truly let go, that they still occupy space in your mind and your emotions. It reinforces the distorted belief they hold that they continue to have power over you. From a psychological standpoint, this is a highly dysfunctional and distorted interpretation of human connection. But to the narcissist, it's not about connection at all. It's about domination. For them, being right is far more satisfying than being emotionally close. Feeling desired is more important than being decent. They prioritize control over compassion and winning over intimacy. And if you do break no contact, what typically follows is not a heartfelt reconciliation. Instead, you'll likely be met with an immediate burst of affection and attention, a temporary love-bombing phase. But don't be misled. That surge of warmth and charm doesn't come from real love or recognition of your worth. It's simply a tool to re-establish control. Once they sense that you're emotionally open again, they often return to their old patterns, manipulating, devaluing, and emotionally destabilizing you once more. This time, though, the stakes are different. Now, they understand just how powerful your silence can be. They've tasted what it feels like to be locked out of your world. And as much as they try to hide it, that reality terrifies them. Because the next time you go no contact, they know it might be permanent, and that thought shakes the very foundation of the illusion they cling to. So, what do narcissists really want when you go no contact? They want chaos. They want your emotional relapse. They want you watching, doubting, regretting. They want to be the victim, the star, the one who wins the breakup. But most of all, they want to know they still matter, even in your silence. And yet, silence is the one thing they cannot manipulate. Because when you go truly no contact, not just with your words but with your energy, you create something narcissists can't understand. Peace that doesn't require permission. So if you've stayed strong in your silence, if you've refused the bait, ignored the smears, resisted the fantasy, and chosen healing over drama, you've done something most narcissists fear more than confrontation. You've closed the door. You've stopped the cycle. You've reclaimed your story. And that's not just protection from them. That's liberation for you. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to prove anything. You don't even need closure. You just need space and the strength to keep it sacred. Thank you for being here. If this message helped you see your experience more clearly, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing this video. Your clarity might be the mirror someone else needs. And remember, your silence is not empty. It's full of everything you deserve: peace, power, and freedom.